All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Ministry Revealed. It is October 22nd, 2017. This won't be a very long video. I came across, I watched another video yesterday, and I can't remember the guy's name. I believe his channel is just Revelation. And he may have just actually done the one video from what he said around October 16th. And he said something that was really interesting. All of it, I mean, when you understand that who Matthew, Mark, and Luke and who is being spoken to and so forth, I understand that some of these people that are teaching, they don't understand this yet. And like I said, I know that the information I'm putting out there overall, excuse me, is going to be for the church left during the tribulation, those that didn't get to escape. But he did have some good stuff that I hadn't seen before, which is a confirmation within the scripture. So, two witnesses, right? In the mouth of two or three witnesses. Well, it's the scriptures confirming themselves. And I believe, like I've been saying, the time we are in, that's what this is about. Based on today's dates, we are, 10 days, 11 days away from November 2nd. And guys, I'm telling you, it is all over the place. And I'm gonna touch base on it here with you. And I needed to get this in. It's just about 3 o'clock, and we have our family dinners here every Sunday at our house. So got some really good groceries for that. It'll be steak night for everybody. But I wanted to touch base here with this because I wanted to get this one in today, because tomorrow's video is going to be really, really interesting. I'm going into, you can see here, let's see, come on, show up. Romans 16, 1 Corinthians 16, and 2 Corinthians 13. So it's the last chapters of each of those books. And it again confirms an escape. It talks about everything. It talks about both groups. The first group that escapes of the first fruits. Then it talks about another group that is also called the first fruits, but they're not unto Jesus. They're the fathers. And then it goes into who's left, and it is just awesome. And I was talking to a subscriber who's become a really good friend of mine now, and it's amazing. When I read scriptures, I don't know why. It's just the way I believe the Lord has revealed it to me. When I read them, I don't see them with the old eyes that I saw them with in the old understanding. I see it in a way that it's an understanding for the times, the late times we're in, and for the tribulation times coming. And the Lord revealed that to me when I was reading, was it Romans 16 or 1 Corinthians 16? And there was an understanding in there, and I was like, oh, so that's why, because I understand. I get so many comments that people just, they think I'm nuts. They think I'm crazy even when I post comments on other people's videos. And they just think, oh, I'm out to lunch. And it was like the Lord reassuring me, this is the way they see it, because that's how it's always been taught. And it's correct. That was correct for that understanding. But the understanding that's being revealed now to me, that I keep sharing with you guys, is for the late time we're in, the very late time that we're in, and the time that's coming for the church, as well as for the Jews, but for the church, Israel, that's coming. That's mainly what I'm revealing for them. And like I said, there was a verse there, a part of the chapter that just really stood out, and I was like, oh, I see. They're talking about this being the first fruits, and they got to bring it in. They're going to bring it into Israel, into Jerusalem, and I realized what it was saying. But when I was reading it, that's not at all what I read. And it was the Lord, I'm 100% certain that it was the Lord just showing me, here's what people understand. And today, that's going to be more so for tomorrow's video. I just wanted to kind of touch base briefly on it, because today's video as well, it's not going to be very long. I just wanted to give you guys more proof and more evidence to this November 2nd thing that we've been talking about, that I've been sharing with you guys. So, if this sign of Revelation 12 that Scotty Clark has revealed to us is the sign of Revelation 12, and I don't care who you listen to that thinks they've disproved it, they have not disproved it whatsoever. This perfect sign in the heavens when it was on November 2nd. It had never existed before that, never has and never will, from what we can see. And now, like I always say, the only thing that could come up here is that this wasn't the sign that we saw in heaven on September 23rd in the sky. That's the only thing. If not, I pray you guys are in the Word. I pray you guys are studying. I pray you guys are sharing this with others. And I also pray that you guys are sharing my videos. This is as hard as they are to understand sometimes with my jumping around. I apologize for it. I will be putting more out here in this week and a bit still coming out, kind of tying stuff a little bit more together, even as I'm discovering more things. But I really, really think it's so important that we share with our pastors, our teachers that we know, just to get the word out, because I believe what's going to happen is I pray for me and my family and for others that we are part of the escaped group. And tomorrow's video actually does talk about that too, that this group that is Jesus's. So by the way, that's going to be an exciting video tomorrow. But I pray that we're a part of that group. And that would mean that there's people watching these videos that maybe won't be a part of that group. And that one day they're going to remember hearing something from this once the escape has happened and war is broken, all of these things have begun, that they'll say, oh my goodness. And I hope YouTube hasn't blocked everything by then, and people will be able to start sharing this information, get it out there, and really get it out to the teachers. You know, whatever pastors are still there, because this understanding is going to be so important. And in fact, I wanted to do a video, and I still will do a video, and tomorrow's does touch on it, because like I said, first, not only Matthew, Mark, and Luke and who it's talking to, but 1st and 2nd Corinthians, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, like I've shared many times in the videos. I wanted to take it more in depth so that you guys could see that, in fact, one is talking to the church tribulation, one is talking for the Jews in their tribulation, and so on and so forth in 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2, 1 and 2. And tomorrow's video does touch on that as well. So, back to this point, if this was the sign, I don't see now with this other confirmation, another biblical confirmation, that it could be anything but what we're looking for, this escape coming in early November. And now let's go into it. So I've shown you guys in Luke, right? So we have in Luke, we're in Luke 11, and they're asking them, you know, what's going to be the sign? You know, can you show us a sign? So on and so forth. And we know. Now remember, whenever you see a story and it's in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, and you notice that they all slightly say it a little bit different, there is a reason for it. Yes, there was a reason as to who it was back then, but there's a current reason going into this tribulation time that's coming up, and understanding that's going to be needed. And it's that Matthew is to the Jews, Mark is to the tribulation church, and when I say Jews, I mean the Jews during their tribulation. The other one, Mark, is the church during their tribulation, and Luke is the pre-tribulation of it all. Okay? And here we are in Luke, so it's important to remember this. I've spoken on this before. And in Luke, it says they seek after a sign, and no sign shall be given except the sign of Jonah the prophet. Right? As Jonah was a sign. So not the eclipse, none of that stuff. All that stuff happened before. But Jonah himself walking into Nineveh and declaring that the destruction was going to come in 40 days unless they repented, that's what is being spoken of here. Jonah, his 40-day sign, his 40-day proclamation was the sign to the Ninevites, okay? Unto Nineveh. And so what he says here is, so shall the Son of Man be to this generation. So the Son of Man, meaning the sign of the Son of Man. So as Jonah was a sign, there's going to be a sign of me as the Son of Man as well to this generation. And that means 40 days. Well, if we go from the Revelation 12 sign and we count 40 days, we end up at November 2nd. Right? Now we got to remember, in the Hebrew calendar, it goes from it would be the evening of the 1st, all right, sunset of the 1st, to sunset of November 2nd. All right? And then the beginning of the next day for their November 3rd would be the evening of November 2nd. Okay? It's key. It's very important to remember that for those that don't know that, because it's going to tie into this other revelation that this guy was talking about, that from that moment there going into November 3rd, it is the evening, right? The sunset, the moment at sunset for in Israel, which would be depending on where you live. I'm mountain time here in Canada, which means it would be I think it's 4:48 or something like that p.m. on November 2nd, which makes it around 7:48 a.m. Mountain time here in Calgary on the 2nd of November. And now it's really important. I mean, when we look, because I was saying, and I did more calculation, because if we were saying, oh, well, they were off by, and I'm going to look into this more. This is actually a really key piece. I was talking to my new friend as well about it, was where is it being spoken of? And I hadn't looked into that. So he's going to send me, because I'm looking at stuff. I know he's looking at stuff. So we're going to find out where it says that in the Bible, when it talks about the barley harvest, and that, they might miscount it or something like that. So we're going to look into that scripture to see where that is, so that we can understand who is being spoken to. Because if you do the calculation, if this was the time that the barley harvest was off, and this was the year, and everything moves a month, so that we say Elul 1 was what? The crescent of the new moon being seen in September instead of Feast of Trumpets. And if that was the case, well, it really doesn't have any meaning for us, because it didn't fall on the sign, right? The sign, the Revelation 12 sign, fell on the 3rd, right? On the third day. Oh shoot, what's that? We have Nissan for the first, but from the evening of the 20th to the evening of the 21st, that was the first day for the Feast of Trumpets. So by the time the 23rd came, it was day 3. All right? And if we had done that with the barley harvest and it had moved, then trying to associate the Revelation 12 sign with the first of Elul, we would still have the same issue as others were having, trying to associate this sign with the Feast of Trumpets, because everybody's looking for a trumpet. And there's no trumpet with the escape, with what people think is pre-tribulation. It's not pre-tribulation. There's an escape group, and the tribulation, and then at the end of the 7-year tribulation for the church, there is the rapture of the entire body of the church, everyone who's died and everyone who is left alive. And then the tribulation, the 7 years of great tribulation during the time for the Jews, and then the wrath in there as well. And what happens is, if we move that barley harvest, we moved everything back a month, we still end up when we saw the crest of the new moon. So being able to associate and say Elul 1 is really in September at the crest of the new moon, it still doesn't land, excuse me, it doesn't land on the sign. So it really makes no difference, which is why I'm saying I believe that happening is going to be a future event, which is why they're not going to know the day or the hour, because they're looking for this time, and they're going to have it wrong because of how the barley was miscounted. All right, the timing of it. So that's why I say that, because when you realize this, that the Feast of Trumpets, when it landed, when that crest of the new moon was seen, and then 3 days later was the Revelation 12 sign. Well, obviously 10 days from the crest of the new moon, you had 10 days, and you have what? You have Atonement, right? The Feast of Atonement. So you have automatically, it's going to be 10 days later. Well, the sign fell 3 days later from the crest of the new moon, which means 7 days later it fell on Atonement. So you've got 7 days to Atonement. And then what? Then you have 33 more days to November 2nd. Well, isn't that interesting? You have 7 and 33. So first of all, we have this sign that Jesus said would be the only sign to this generation, and would be the sign of the Son of Man, right? It's a sign in heaven, because it's a sign. right? I talked about this in another video. People couldn't understand. People kept saying that, oh, it's a sign, nothing's going to happen. Okay, we've assessed, we know it's a sign. What is a sign to? Okay, it's the sign. Could it be that it is this sign, the sign of the Son of Man, to this generation? Makes sense to me, to everybody else? If in fact that was the sign. So taking at it as it being the sign, we count 40 days and we get to November 2nd. Well, now let's go a step further. Let's go into Leviticus 12. See, for myself, I was always going into Leviticus 25 and I was in Leviticus 23, trying to learn and understand the feasts better. Well, when this guy had talked about Leviticus 12, and I believe he got it from somebody else as well, there's a great understanding within this, right? Because here we go in Leviticus 12. If a woman has conceived of a man-child, she is unclean 7 days, right? Or separation from her separation. This is the 8th day. This is just what happens to the kid on the 8th day, which is in the 33, the first day of the 33. See? And she shall continue in her blood and of her purifying 33 days. So here we had 40 days, right, up here in Luke 11, where Jesus said 40 days. So if we screwed up everything, we screwed up the harvest time, we screwed up when this was supposed to happen, when that was supposed to happen, what those dates were, we knew, and that's what I've been saying for a long time, that once we have this sign, it's 40 days, he says, just like Jonah, period. Done. We know that, right? But now we've got this confirmation. Because what's also important here is that from the sign, you add 70 days, and you come to 7 days, sorry, you come to September 30th, which was what? The Day of Atonement. So not only, of course, you got the 10 days of Day of Atonement, but it falls right in line that within 7 days, bang, there's Day of Atonement. Add 33 days for the rest of her for her purifying. What do we get? November 2nd again, guys. You see that? Why is this so important? Because it was a woman with child who gave birth. It's the Revelation 12 sign, right? And a woman clothed with the sun, the moon, under her feet, a crown of 12 stars, and she being with child, travailed, right? This is the same thing. And here we have Luke telling us only one sign, which is the Revelation 12 sign, and that it's going to be 40 days. And then we have Leviticus 12 telling us in a different way because of the uncleanness, being unclean after birth for the woman. And for a son, right, it's going to be 7 days and 33. Well, what have pastors and preachers been teaching for years? That Revelation 12 sign is nothing to do with the church. It's nothing to do with that. That's the sign of the Son of Man and the man-child that's being brought forth. That's Jesus ruling with the rod of iron. Well, we've proven that out, and we'll even talk more about that later too in another video. But they've always said, well, that's Jesus, the representation of Jesus. Well, that's the man-child, right? Being with the man-child, conceived a boy. If she bared a girl, it's 2 weeks unclean, followed by 66 days of purifying. That wouldn't work. Doesn't fall in line. Now here we are, 7 days and 33 days. 7 days, atonement. Followed by another 33 days, November 2nd. Here we go. We are at November 2nd again. But now watch this. Was it this one? I think this was just the calculation to show you guys. We go September 23rd, 40 days, November 2nd. Just like that. See? Now, let's go. This is really, really interesting, guys. He had mentioned this in his video too, and this is what I was like, what? And I was telling my daughter, I was explaining to her. My son's busy with his video games, but I know he's listening always, especially when I'm really talking about this stuff. And my daughter, again, I always say she's 12, so when she's listening, she sometimes, and it was late last night. It was after midnight, maybe close to 12:30, and we were still all up. And I'm explaining. She's like, oh, it's just so over my head, Dad, right now. I'm so tired. And I'm still explaining it, though, because I'm excited about this. And when I said this, my son started laughing like he always does. When he gets it, right? He knows what's being said. He understands it. And so we've now got two biblical breakdowns that lead us to the exact same date of November 2nd, right? And we have to remember now, this is an important piece. She's in here, she's what? She's 7 days, so that's a full 7 days. It's not 6.5. It's a full, oh, did I close that? Shoot. Accidentally close it. So she is unclean for 7 days, right? Not like 6.5 days or 6 3/4 days or something like that. It is a full 7 days, right? We have her 7 days. And then we have her, you can see I didn't even have it ready in this one. Then we have the 33 days. So what is that? It's a full 7 days and a full 33 days. So it's not 39.5 or 39 3/4. It is, remember, it's always perfect. The word is perfect. So it's going to be a complete 40 days, right? And it's the same with the sign of Jonah. The sign of Jonah is what? It's 40 days. So as Jonah was a sign. So he wasn't going to bring destruction if they hadn't all gotten to the point of repenting at 39.5. They had up to the very last moment of the full 40 days. Well, that means what? That means November 2nd at 4:48 p.m. in Israel, in Jerusalem. It's the beginning. It's the very moment. That's the sunset, right? Which means what? November 3rd is beginning. And yes, by the way, I've said it before. That's my birthday, so very exciting. I've got something going on here with my system. Hopefully everything's still recording. I think it is. So from November 2nd, which is November 3rd in Israel, at 4:48 p.m., it begins. It's the moment that November 3rd begins. And do you know what they call November 3rd? It is crazy. And shoot, something is gone with my system. My kids are older than that now. Now you just saw my family. Let's see. Come on. There we go. So from November 2nd, like I was saying, at 4:48 p.m., which is the very beginning of November 3rd over in Israel, guess what they call it? This is crazy. It's called Vayera. November 3rd this year in Israel, they have a reading, a Torah reading, and it's Genesis 18, 1 through 22. And it is the longest book, not the most letters or something it said, but it is the longest in words, I believe it is, Torah reading that they have. And do you know what it's called? Obviously, you can see it. It's highlighted. It is the Torah reading called Vayera, and it means, and he appeared. Isn't that awesome? So we have sign of Jonah, November 2nd, 40 days. We have Leviticus 12, 7 days, 33 days, a full 40 days brings us to November 2nd as well. And in Israel, they're going to be reading the Torah at sundown, and what they're going to be reading is what they call Vayera, and in English is called "And He Appeared." That is the scripture they're going to be reading November 3rd, which is November 2nd, early in the morning wherever you live, or sundown where they are, and beginning of their November 3rd. Isn't that awesome? It's I don't know what to say to that except here we go again, more stuff, right? More not just partial connections. This is the thing. This stuff is bang on. It is right on the day, right on the second, the moment in both of them. And then that this is what the third one, this is what November 3rd means, and it is right at sunset at the beginning, the moment of the 41st day, once complete 40th day has ended. That's called perfect. There's no in between. There's no misinterpretation of adding this or doing it. It is perfect. In fact, this is what they read here, Genesis 18. So I hope you guys are seeing that, how crazy that is, right? And we can go a little step further. Now, let's say, okay, well, let's do these calculations. I've spoken of this here before too. You know, that the days of our years are 70. It's 70. And if by reason of strength they be 80 years, which is 80, yet your strength be in labor and sorrow. This is to the Jews, right? There's going to be strength within it. They're going to be able to hold on for a bit. And then eventually, after 10 and a half years, or what? That's when they're going to fly away. They're going to go into the wilderness. Hence, like I explained, are 14 years, right? And so this is talking to the Jews, but see that their years are 70 years. Well, we are coming up to this. We're in actually the 70th year. We're in the 70th year from when Israel became a nation again, right? I've shown this part before as well. And the Balfour Declaration, when they declared they were going to give Israel their nation back, or give them a nation again, it was declared, see? Balfour Declaration Day, November 2nd, 1917. So to the day, here we have a major earthly event to the day that coincides with Leviticus 12, with Luke 11, regarding the sign of the son of Jonah, regarding the sign of the Son of Man, relating to Jonah being 40 days, falling on the exact same day as the double jubilee from the Balfour Declaration. On the Balfour Declaration, which this is ended up the 50 from from Jerusalem. And we've got the second jubilee. This one here was the declaration for Israel, right? That Israel was going to get their nation again. And then the 50 years from this one, they also regained and recaptured Jerusalem. So we have a 50 year from Jerusalem. We have a 70 year from Israel. We have the 100 year from the Balfour Declaration. All this year? Seriously? And we have Leviticus and we have Luke 11, both telling us 40 days. And from the sign, you go 40 days. And from the sign, you go 7 and 33. And the 7 falls on atonement exactly. I mean, and then the very next day, at the very moment, the very second that the day switches to the next day, the 41st day, it means, and he appeared. I don't know about you guys, but I am praying up. I am asking for forgiveness daily. I'm repenting. I'm praying that we're counted worthy. I'm quitting everything that I could possibly think of that would hold me back. And I'm not saying it would, but I'm just trying to be the best I can. You know, do as much as I can, you know, help people where I can. You know, we just bought a bunch more food for storage. We just bought a bunch of Bibles. We bought out all the bookstores and the Bibles that they had in, 2 of the bookstores here in Canada, in where I live. And I'll be going back and getting more too, and I'm still going to get more food. Now, am I doing this for me? No. I truly don't believe it's for me and my family. I believe we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in our family to be accounted worthy. Right? We're watching, we're praying, we're studying, we're in prayer thanking him and repenting. You know, I believe we're doing what we're supposed to be doing. So why then would I be buying all this stuff? Excuse me, I'm buying it because there's going to come a time very soon that people are going to need this. And eventually somebody's going to be breaking into the house and trying to get everything they need. Or my family, you know, we have our family dinner, like I was saying earlier tonight, and they know. And in fact, I'm going to be showing my brother-in-law tonight that, hey, we've got a bigger stock here and this is where everything is. So when it comes, I know you guys think we're crazy, but when it comes, you guys are going to want to make your way here and maybe collect this stuff and store it at your house if you want. But I do believe that. So we're spending extra money on these things for others because I don't believe it's for us. So we're just doing these things because, man, time is so short, and I just don't want to be doing anything. I'm not that I'm afraid of doing anything wrong, because we have forgiveness as well, but just knowing that I might be doing something wrong and still doing it, that just makes me nervous. That's all. I was talking about this with my buddy as well, and I love you guys, and I don't want it to happen to anybody. It doesn't mean we have to be fearful. I'm not fearful. I fear the Lord, which is why I quit doing the things I was doing knowingly. So that's why I quit, because of my fear of the Lord and not wanting to be left, to miss the opportunity of being found worthy to escape all these things, as Luke tells us in Luke 21, right? So, with that, guys, I just thought it was really, really interesting. I know I spoke about the Luke portion before, but now being able to tie in Leviticus 12 into it, and that they fall in perfectly in line from atonement and then to the 2nd of November and to what the 3rd of November means for Israel in their Torah reading. I mean, it's just incredible. So so with that, everybody, God bless you. Share this with everybody you can. Get this word out, because time is short. If that was the Revelation 12 sign on September 23rd, prepare, hit your knees, because the escaped are going home very, very, very soon. We're only October 22nd, guys. That is so close. So with that, God bless you. I'll have another video here coming out tomorrow, which is also going to be a very, very exciting video, just giving you more evidence of the truth of the escape and who these groups are, and just in 3 chapters and the ending of 3 different books. It's incredible. So with that, God bless you. If you guys have any comments or questions, let me know. If you'd like to hear about something or understand something more, feel free to ask me questions. In fact, if I believe that everybody listening to my videos, I'm sure, has a Bible or has access to one. But if by chance somebody needs a Bible, whether you live in Canada or not, I guess, really, we'll ship them out to you. So let us know, and we'll see what we can do to the best of our ability. And yeah, with that, as always, guys, eSword. eSword, eSword, eSword. It's a free program. You don't want to miss it. eSword, eSword, eSword. And if you're watching this video, chances are, not chances are, it means you're online. So another thing, if you're looking for a Bible, another great thing you can do is go to BibleGateway.com. And you can just pull up everything right there. It'll pop up like this. You can just go click here on book list, and then the book list will pop up. You just click onto what you want to go into. Bang, Revelation. Click the chapter, and here you go. All right. So with that, I pray you guys have a great evening, a great dinner tonight with your families, and a great week coming, guys. So again, God bless you, and we'll talk to you soon.